Welcome, one and all, and thank you for tuning in to another wonderful episode of the OIC podcast. My name is Noah Hansen, here today with Kevin Peterson once again. And Kevin, I know that you are more of an expert on this subject than I am. You've had many more years to train in this particular area of study, and that is body language. This is a topic that is very important following the positive self-talk episode because the body language aspect of your communication tells a whole lot.
And the reason why it is that way is because there are several different ways of communicating, but one that not only sets the tone, not only sets the standard, but really allows people to be able to see clearly without a single word spoken what you're feeling or what you might be feeling or what you might be going through.
Right, and that's the subject of this podcast. It's body language. Our every subtle movement sends a message to the people who can see us.
Absolutely.
Right.
And it's life energy.
What do you mean it's life energy, Kevin?
Body language, as you know, our body is filled with energy.
Yeah, many volts of it, actually.
So body language, when properly done, emits a frequency, emits a vibration that other people can subliminally pick up on almost instantaneously.
Right. Now, could these messages being sent in our body language, could they be a lie that we're telling, or is it always going to be something that's true in the internal world that we're outputting? You know, can you fake a smile, basically?
Anyone can fake a smile, but everyone can be able to see its end result, right?
Right. A lot of people can tell if it's a fake smile. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. So a fake smile is just a mouth movement, but a real smile is going to be in the eyes. It's going to be probably more prominent in your cheekbones. It's going to be more obvious and clear that it's genuine.
Yes.
That's why they say, you know, that your eyes tell 1,000 words.
Absolutely.
Your eyes are doing the speaking. That's what that phrase really is coined because of our body language.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your experience with body language, Kevin? Have you been really good at it in the past, really bad at it? What's your experience?
Well, in the 33 years that I've been teaching, training, motivating, directing, and guiding people to their highest self ever, in my courses, in my classes, body language happens to be one of my top 5 courses. The reason for it being is because having the right body language gives off a signal, gives off a frequency, gives off an energy field that emits a power all on its own without your extra added effort, right?
Right. Right. And the best way to be able to walk through this information, especially on body language and Kevin's teaching of body language, is to contact him about life coaching services that you can get one-on-one with Kevin, and he'll walk you through very simply the steps needed to put in place for your body language to just be a level up, to be leveled up.
Yeah, basically. Because if you're not leveling up in life, someone's actually walking all over you.
Right, exactly.
And so with my course that I teach you how to be able to, without any extra effort, to be able to exude, to be able to literally replicate, duplicate, and to be able to manifest the positive outcome in the environment that you're in, no matter how positive or how negative.
Yes. Now, ancestrally speaking, Kevin, body language is important because a lot of things that are picked up in body language are cultural. For example, the middle finger being held up sends a message that's different in one culture versus another.
But there are many hand gestures that we can go down this road or this path on.
Right.
You know, but body language is different than hand gestures, right?
Yeah, I mean, body language is a overarching umbrella of gestures, and then hand gestures are obviously just using the hands. So yeah, culturally, there's a lot of body language that is cultural. But beyond that, and I think this is what you're getting at, Kevin, beyond that, there is a lot of body language that's very natural to us.
there's a lot of body language that's subconscious,
Right. Yes.
not all natural.
Right. A lot of it's picked up subliminally too.
You have to understand is that everything that you know to date, someone has taught you. Let that sink in for a minute. So if it isn't something good, positive, pure, something that transforms other people's life as well as yours in that same instance, then you got to be able to think back who was the source that taught me this.
Right.
Was it a person, many people? Was it TV? Was it radio? Was it a good friend, a best friend, an acquaintance, someone you looked up to, right?
Right.
You will always hear me in this podcast talking about getting back to the source. You have to figure out where either the train wreck or the achieving came from. And the reason why I call it a train wreck or an achievement is because you either joined other people in that process and you went into a train wreck, or you saw that other people were doing something and you decided to be able to go in a different direction on a new pathway.
Yes.
To be able to achieve something great, right?
Yes, and a good point to add on to that, Kevin, is that when you are reading body language, when you have that kind of like that sonar spread out and you can pick up subtleties from people's body language, you can then presume that they're going to be the right type of person, a person that you're looking to include in your life, or if they're someone that either needs your help that only you can particularly give them, or someone that you may want to avoid.
Yes, but understand, Noah, that even presumptions are energy.
Yes, yeah.
So never pre-select, never prejudge someone if they happen to be standing or sitting a certain way without communicating with them. You have to put that final piece of the puzzle together to be able to go, oh, so that is authentic. So I now know I'm going to go, swipe left and go in a different direction, right?
Right, yeah. So are you saying, and I don't think you are, but trick question here, are you saying that you want an air of neutrality when going into any given situation where you're meeting someone?
That is called respect.
Okay.
And respect is neutrality. Because without that person interjecting how they authentically feel,
Right, presenting themselves, right.
it's all assumptions. And the first part of assumptions is not positive.
Right. A lot of people gravitate to a negative viewpoint very easily.
Right. So if you are the beginning of a negative in the word assumptions, then you have no right being there. We should not have assumptions, right?
Right. What we want to teach on this podcast is how to be the light that shines in the darkness, right? And in order to be that light, in order to be someone of value in another person's life, you can't be the first person to make the step into a negative zone. Is that kind of what you're telling us here, Kevin?
Yes, because you've got to be able to think 3 moves ahead every time that you go somewhere, every time you go into an environment, every time that you enter into somewhere new, right?
Any time that you play chess, too.
The reason why you always want to, and good analogy, but the reason why you always want to think 3 moves ahead is that you're either looking up or to your left or to your right, because nobody's got eyes in the back of their head, right? And you're observing the environment. You're getting a full picture of what you're walking into. Psychologically, you're saying to yourself, now here's a possible route that I can get out of, right?
Right.
So it's important and imperative for you to be able to realize when you get the fight or flight mode, or when you get such a relaxed mode that you kick your shoes off and stay a while, right?
Mm-hmm. I hear you.
So knowing your environment is crucial and critical when being able to be able to resonate body-wise a message to other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what do you do in a situation where you're going into an environment that you know that you want to change the overall energy of this environment? How do you, do you be really sporadic and start shouting, or what do you do body language wise?
Well, one is that I never go into an environment wanting to soulfully change it.
Why is that?
Because then I'd be absent of God, and I'd be a fake, phony facade. So I call upon God prior to going into any environment, asking God to be able to please watch over and protect me in this environment. Please include me in the plans that you have for me at this very moment, Almighty God, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that prayer can give you confidence.
Plus, when you walk in, you are then what? Never alone.
Right, that's true.
See what I'm saying?
It's got your back.
So you are basically inviting God into every environment that you put yourself into.
Right.
From there, then when I'm talking to other people, I'm also having the idea and the mindset as if though God was standing right next to me. What would I say then? What would I do then? Would I allow myself to be selfish, self-centered? Would I allow myself to be pompous, arrogant?
Mm-hmm.
Or would I allow myself to be loving, caring, understanding, sympathetic, empathetic, right?
Right.
To others? Because here's the big key to life, is that not a single person on the planet has all the answers. If no one's ever told you that before, let me be the first.
That's great, Kevin. Great reminders there. Yeah, no, it's important because I'm sure you've had many hours and days and weeks of experience in this particular field. I know that you've been in a lot of hairy environments, for lack of a better phrase, and a lot of those experiences, whether it's in your coaching or in other areas of your past, your military history,
Mm-hmm.
have been environments where you've benefited by putting God first before going into those environments.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely some powerful advice there. It's important. Is there any particular instance of this happening in your past, Kevin, that you can share with us?
Well, yes. I've been to, I was in the United States Navy, and for those of you that know, the United States Navy is that they travel quite a long time. And so I would go on to 6 months, 8 months, and 1 year deployments. In those deployments, I would go to 45 countries around the world and these different deployments, right?
Right.
So a totaling of 45 countries, right? Not at one trip, right?
Right.
So when going to these different places, I would be able to be in different cultures, different environments, different situations and circumstances that I would have not normally been in the United States.
Right.
I had to be more reserved. I had to be more cautious, more concerned about different outcomes because I had to be able to think, again, 3 moves ahead everywhere I went with every step. How would I be saying something to someone? Why would I be saying something to someone? And then the third thing is that how would that be received, right?
Right.
Whether positive or negatively, right?
Right. And there's a lot of cultural differences that I'm sure you had to watch out for, some that you may not have known about, that got you in tight situations.
I have been in many tight situations, but a lot and a great deal of them have been all through, and not on my part, but miscommunication between those people in that country and our soldiers, soldiers that were there, right?
Uh-huh. Yep.
So some people found us to be a threat. Some people didn't. So we had to be able to really pay attention, bringing this whole topic forward, to body language, to mannerisms, to be able to see if someone was carrying a gun,
Right.
a knife, or even a baseball bat that I saw, right?
Right.
So it's important and it's imperative that you really, if you are having struggles and issues to where you're not communicating properly or being able to get in return what you're resonating out, you need to look at your body language. You need to look at how you are talking, the way that you're talking, and when you're talking. Number one compliment in the world, and I mean in the world, is having the other person speak more than you speak. Because everyone has a story. Everyone has a situation, a circumstance, situation that they can't wait to tell another living soul, right?
Right.
That's why so many women bond that way. It doesn't make them best friends. It's just really a bonding partner, someone to talk to, right?
Right. So you're saying the biggest gift that we can give another person is to allow them to have the space to say what they need to say.
Yes.
Right. But yeah, very powerful again, Kevin. And another aspect of this, that whole leaving space for others to come to their conclusions, that's something that Jesus did in the Gospels. One instance of this happening in particular is when he was talking to the rich man. I believe I've mentioned this in another podcast, but when he was talking to the rich man and he allowed him to come to the own answer that was in his head of what laws are important to follow. He allowed him to answer the question that he had originally asked Jesus, and then come to the conclusion of whether he's going to follow Jesus or not, or love money more than he loved Jesus. And unfortunately, his choice was he was going to turn his head in shame and walk away from Jesus because of his love for money. Just a hint at a very dangerous teaching in the Bible that you cannot love money more than God, cannot even love money while loving God, because one can only serve one master, not two. So that's just one instance where Jesus allowed someone to come to their own conclusions, but there's many more in the Bible where he was silent, his body language was still speaking, but his mouth wasn't moving.
Because silence speaks volumes at all frequencies.
That it does, Kevin.
And the reason why I say that is that there are very intimate times that being quiet is the greatest gift that you could give another human being. Some people are unnerved by the silence. Some people feel comforted by the silence. Some people absolutely just are neutral to silence. The reason why that is because when you appreciate the quiet things in life, you appreciate everything in life.
Yes. Yeah. Now, that's something that we don't see as much of happening today because a lot of today's culture is one where we are constantly distracted. We constantly need to go, especially here in the first world country of America.
Right.
Where if we're not working, we feel like we should be. If we're not entertained, we feel like we should be. But sitting in silence is difficult for many people, at least starting out in practice.
Because what do you call that?
Well, some would say it's meditation. I wouldn't particularly call it meditation.
When you are in silence, you're no longer being programmed. When you're listening to the radio, when you're watching TV, when you're watching videos on the internet, you are being programmed.
Right.
Whether you like it or not. Whether it's TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, doesn't matter.
Right.
It's all about programming. How many likes can I get? How many more followers can I get? How many this, how many that, right? What if you needed none and had all of them? Because they saw the value in you without you needing to speak a word.
Yeah, that's definitely some food for thought.
Because when Jesus was carrying the cross, what words were the cross saying? What did the cross say to Jesus? It didn't. It remained silent because it knew its place.
I was not expecting that. But yeah, you're right. that was very deep, Kevin.
Well, yes, because you have to go deep in order for you to be able to be welled up with water to be able to drink to be able to sustain life, right?
Yes, the fountain of life.
So the reason I have many levels of depth to my conversations is because I literally value you so much that you deserve to be able to go to these different levels with me on a beautiful walk, on a beautiful journey, in a new way to learn how to live today.
Amen. Now, Kevin, scientifically, the subliminal inclinations that we get from other people's body language can either affect us positively or negatively. And when people are silent, that body language is speaking even more, I feel like. So when you're being silent, that can, like you were saying, make people uncomfortable. But if you're being silent paired up with leaning back, having your arms crossed, and then maybe glancing away, blinking a lot, or having objects in front of you, all of these different things can make people more uncomfortable because those signs of body language are telling them that you're not interested. They're telling the people speaking to you that you don't care, and that can make the uncomfortability 10 times more. And
It can.
Yeah.
But the key is,
Okay,
it's simple.
I'm ready for it.
Understand. It's a penny's worth of knowledge that will give you $1 million in the end.
Okay, Kevin, lay it on me. Let me hear it.
The more gentle you are with yourself, the more loving you'll be to another human being.
I hear that.
Please stop beating yourself up. Please stop competing, trying to be something that you're not. Allow yourself to be the very best representation of yourself, and allow those people that love you. You can't ever change without God being the change agent, without Jesus being the motivation center of your soul, right?
Right, which is why prayer is so important. You have
But
to
more
tell him.
importantly than that, daily communication. The reason why I love women so much, and this is a very positive note, is that many learned from an early age on how to journal. When you get your thoughts right, when you get your mind right, when you get your soul right, then you not only become right, but you find Mr. or Mrs. Right as well, right?
Right.
A lot of women, and God bless you, a lot of women want to get married, want to have children more than a man. And they literally devour information. They don't just read a book, they devour it to be able to see if they can resonate with it, or they just set it down, right?
Right. Emotionally, it has to.
Emotionally,
Be touchy.
physically, and spiritually, right?
Yes.
So the reason why books are so important to most women is that they want to have that dream life. They want to have that dream scenario, that dream situation. But it's us men that hold them back, because we don't read books a lot when we're children. We don't read. We read comic books. That's what men do, is comic books and fairy tale, books, that sort of thing.
Right. That's more of a recent.
No, it's not recent. It's because comic books have been around for a long time. Remember, I mean, when I was growing up, it was all about Superman, Spider-Man, all these different DC comics and Marvel comics, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And
It's interesting how the tables have turned because, in antiquity, women weren't, in many cases, even allowed to know how to read.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting viewpoints here, Kevin.
Well, the reason why is because I have watched my mother, I have watched my sister, and I have watched the women that I have loved with all my heart and soul read, journal, meditate, talk it out, discuss it with others, and then apply it. It's really a kind of a 5-step process because they want to be right. They want to do the right things, right? But they need approval. And we as men need to step up to the plate and be as equally as whole and complete as they are. A woman can find a man all day long in the month of Sundays. A man cannot find the woman of his dreams if he is nothing but a nightmare.
Correct.
So, the bottom line is that how you hold yourself, how you position yourself, how you present yourself means more than anything else that comes out of your mouth. Everything else from there should be a bonus. It should be a value. It should be something of a gift.
Right, Kevin. Now, to finish it up, I just want to give a few tips for body language on how you can make people more comfortable when you're spending some time in silence, not saying anything. So active listening is what this goes into. When you're actively listening, that means you're paying attention to someone. You're making them feel comfortable and giving them the space consciously to be able to say what they need to say. And some ways in which you can do this in your body language is by slightly leaning forward, making eye contact, not blinking too often, but also not blinking too little. That would, freak some people out. Then having objects in front of you, you need to make sure that when you're setting objects in front of you, they need to be in one side or the other, leaving space between you and them. It makes you kind of like an open book, but a blank one that they can write on, when they're talking to you.
Here's a good example, 21st century thinking.
Yes.
Sit as far away from the other person as you would your own monitor.
Your own monitor?
Yeah, your computer monitor.
Okay, gotcha.
Right? That way you can be able to monitor yourself as well as them in a comfortable distance. Let them approach you or get closer.
Right.
Versus you having to be able to shove your way or push your way of needing to be important into their space, right?
Right. All these things go into making space for another person, allowing them to know that you are actively listening.
Because body language is key. Anyone that has ever had a very successful life knows that body language is the key, right? Otherwise, there wouldn't be a runway for models. There wouldn't be a stage for performers, right? And the analogies can go on and on, right?
Yes.
So, how you envision yourself either wrecks yourself or betters yourself. Then how you envision other people either then enhances what you already have or crushes you at the very moment of your settlement. And then third is that if you settle on anything less than your own personal best, you lose. Now, it doesn't mean to be all rich, hidey-tidy. It doesn't mean to be able to be a millionaire. It doesn't mean all of that. Take the world out of it. If I was just talking about elements of you, the greatest gift that you could ever give to another living human being is your authentic self. Your walking, talking, listening version of who you are. You are enough. Everything about you is enough. Everyone else on the planet says otherwise. Why? They're either threatened by you, intimidated by you, or they don't see the value within you.
That's right, Kevin. A lot of people, they recognize the positive body language that you're putting out. They're recognizing the positive walking, talking message that you are, and they dislike you for that reason because they see something inside of you that they want inside themselves. So, jealousy, envy, all these types of things adds up. But very positive words today, Kevin. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast and hearing what Kevin and I had to say, we'd love to hear about it, and we'd love to meet you in the comments sections where you can tell us all about the positive benefits that you reaped from this podcast. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Omnipresent Information Connection. We will meet you on the next podcast.
This has been another life-enhancing, authenticated podcast aired by the OIC and brought to you by the faithful OIC sponsors and contributors. Please tune in every week and subscribe to our podcast. And while you're there, explore our website with all the posts, videos, and podcasts that we have created with you in mind. While you're on the journey through our website, you will see our Patreon page where you can become a faithful contributor yourself with the freedom to be a part of our team today. Thank you.